Welcome back to IGN at Gamescom now. Since the dawn of man, humans have only deserved one thing, and that is to be destroyed. In the upcoming game, Destroy All Humans, you can destroy all humans, plus plenty more. Here to tell us more is Max and Martin, and let's talk Destroy All Humans. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hey. So this is, I think a lot of people initially were like, oh, it's a remaster, but this is kind of a nuts and bolts remake. You guys have really done a lot to kind of change this around. Can you talk a little bit about what, in addition to just the graphical overhaul, what you've done to sort of improve the gameplay from the original?
Well, basically, the one thing is the full remake, so that it's completely built from the ground up in Unreal Engine 4, so that that also gives you a lot more freedom to actually change the gameplay, the balance, and little things like player guidance and ease of use. In general, we're doing a very faithful remake because you don't, touch a classic. So it is a cult classic, and we're leaving the story exactly as it was. But at the same time, the expectations for certain things like saving systems, player guidance, but also the combat and everything like this has changed over the years. Obviously, it's 15 years old, the original. And the game itself inspired a lot of other open world games, so now we are in this weird cycle where people say like, you stole this from this game. We're like, no, this is the original. But yeah, the main things we looked at were just making it more dynamic, creating a lot more fun gameplay chaos, because in the original, it was usually a bit, you do either this or that. You either shoot somebody, or you use your telekinesis, or you pop their brains out with your psychic spell. And now it's all at the same time. You grab something or someone, you have them hover around, above your head, and you run around, you use your jetpack, and you throw it down to the ground. At the same time you can shoot. So it's a big mix, and that makes the gameplay much more dynamic. The character itself is much more dynamic. You've got a dash, you've got a skating thing where you can basically just slide across the ground with your jetpack, and you have more air time in the air, so this makes it easier to shoot at puny humans from above. So all these little things.
Now, in terms of creating remakes, did you guys build everything from the ground up? Did you have access to the original wireframe models and source code? And I mean, how does that look to pull up something from so long ago and sort of revitalize it?
Well, basically, it's more like as if you had the sketch of something. So you can pull the 3D basically setup of the original city and everything, exactly where all the towns were placed or the houses were placed. So we're keeping it very similar to in terms of the size, the general size of the 6 cities that make up the world. But then you basically throw it all away and exchange it for your new assets. So it's basically as if you have, in terms of just the graphical fidelity. If you look at the beautiful, beautiful world that Black Forest Games has created, it's more or less as if you had little toy blocks and now you exchange them for proper real houses.
Now, when you were looking at the original and kind of revisiting it to give it an overhaul, was there any particular mechanic or element that you just felt had sort of aged more poorly than anything else that really, really needed to get kind of revitalized?
The saving system, mainly because it's an open world game, and well, what we did, we also looked at Destroy Humans 2 and looked at what did they change in the second one. So it was the same developer, so they looked at certain weaknesses of their own game and then approved upon it. So there's a lot of little elements that are actually from the second part. So the way you handle the UFO that you can actually sink and rise, or the way you create ammunition via a spell where you just focus on an object and you turn it into ammunition. It's called Transmogrify. This is also from the second part. So we looked at the things that they themselves thought need improving and then brought that back. Also, the saving system of the second one was already better than the first. And all these kinds of things we already brought into the first part, because we know that...
that was a good pile of cow poop, by the way.
Yes.
HD manure physics, that's what gaming is all about in 2019.
It's the moment where he realizes the cows are not the dominant life form of this planet, so it's time to grab them with your new wonderful PK. And as you can see, you can just grab them and then it floats with you, and and whenever you want to release it, you release it. If you just tap it once, you can also just carry it around with you. So we're looking forward for the first speedrunner who will play the entire game with a cow. Yeah, so this is all about that mixture of easily accessible gameplay, a lot of chaos and fun, and the humor of the game, which comes through the legendary dialogues.
Now, there's open world elements to this that sort of get unlocked after completing story missions. How does all that work?
Basically, through the story, you bit by bit unlock those 6 big cities, and then you can always revisit them. And in between, your goal as an alien, basically, you're invading Earth because your species has waged war on Mars for so long with nuclear weapons that their genitalia withered away, and so now they can only clone themselves, but their clones are degrading. So now, when they went back from that war back then on the Mars, they did a little stop on Earth and fornicated with early humans. So in our blood, there's pure early Furon DNA. So that's why they're now coming and collecting our DNA to make sure that they will one day have genitalia again and can reproduce normally again.
A timeless tale.
Yeah,
it's a typical boy meets
really.
girl, boy needs DNA, boy loses genitalia. This kind of tale.
Who among us hasn't?
We've all been there. Basically, it's an alien invasion story, so it draws from all these 1950s cliches and the propaganda and the Red Scare and all this kind of stuff. And at the same time, you're on the other side, so you're the evil alien. And especially in the first part, he is not, like a anti-hero with a heart of gold. He just plain hates us. He came here, we shot down his last clone, we experimented on his corpse. He really hates us, and he just wants to wipe us out, or basically farm us and get as much DNA out of us as possible. And that's what still resonates with people, is that it's really unapologetic. You shoot your way all the way up to the presidency. There's no stopping you, and you just want to take over Earth.
Well, it sounds like we sort of earned that, right? I mean, look, we did bad stuff to this dude's family.
We've been horrible to aliens, maybe, probably.
Exactly.
Now let's talk a little bit about the voice recordings. A lot of people have the voice cast is kind of burned in people's brains. Crypto's voice, they're very familiar with that. How are you going about sort of remastering that aspect of it?
Well, basically, with the English voice cast, we're sticking to the original voice recordings.
Oh, wow.
So this is exactly as they were, because there's basically not anything that can be made better there. The banter between especially the main 2 actors it's legendary, and you don't want to change a thing. What we're looking at is, because we've got a much bigger variety in NPCs and much more different people in the world, we're looking at recording new thoughts, because you can read people's thoughts and they serve as kind of little jokes. Actually quite nice jokes. It's not like a kick them when they're down, but it's really just finding out about the secret desires of the policeman who really wants to be a dancer and stuff like this. And since we now have a bigger variety, we'll record more thoughts. And we have a lost mission which we recovered when we went through all the archives and everything. There was basically a mission that was never executed.
Oh, wow.
And we have a certain amount of voice files from that, and we know we have the kind of structure and what was meant to happen. And it connects two missions that are already in the game. And we're gonna basically restore that lost mission. And for that one, we're also going to record some more lines with the original actors.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then just maybe we have to see what we need, basically, as it pops up. Sometimes you need like player acknowledgements, like, yeah, well done, and stuff like this, which nowadays players expect more than back then.
So on top of being sort of a remaster and a director's cut, you're also, essentially restoring deleted scenes from the movie.
Basically.
That's really interesting, and bringing back the original actors and stuff for that. Yeah, because I think we had a lot of questions about the sort of the push and pull of making a remake, and not treading on sacred ground, but also revitalizing something and modernizing it. And I think it's really cool to be able to retain parts of it, like the voice acting, but then also take new parts and go like, let's go a little crazier over here.
Yeah, I mean, we had the good thing about it was that we had the second part as a little bit of inspiration, so what is, and also later parts of the franchise to see like, okay, this was nice, this worked well. And at the same time, our general approach, or the approach of the team, is to say, okay, people love this cult classic, but it's 15 years old. They remember it through this nice pink haze of, wasn't this awesome?
Yeah.
So we tried to remake it the way that you remember that it was, instead of how it actually did play. So basically, you end up with trying to hit the spot of how people imagined it, because it was still, the graphics were less detailed and everything like this, so a lot of things happened in their heads, and we talked to each other like, when you played it back then, because a lot of us played it, like, how do you remember that scene? Like, what did you think how it was? And then we play it again and we compare, and then we say like, okay, let's build what everybody thought happened here with this boss fight or stuff like this. So the boss fights have clearer phases and all this kind of stuff.
I appreciate that, because a phrase you hear a lot in gaming is, oh, that didn't age well. And so this circumvents that entirely. So before people could even have that conversation, you're like, play the new one.
Yeah.
It's
the
exactly
cool thing
what
is
you
that
remember.
a lot of people here at the show and at E3, they told us like, oh, this is exactly how I remember it.
Yep.
Which for us is then like, okay, cool. We nailed the art style, we nailed the feeling, and people think like this is it still feels the way they remember it, even though there's lots of little bits changed. And I mean, even like the cutscenes, like they're completely motion captured the entire game now. So all the little nuances in the faces, which back then you basically just imagine on your own with your own imagination,
right,
they're now really here. And that's just a great opportunity that modern technology brings around.
No, that's awesome.
Now, in addition to the nostalgia for Destroy All Humans, you also did a wonderful sort of remake of a Rammstein video for the trailer. How did that come together? Was that just sort of
that
good
was
fit?
Actually like an idea of our managing director, who just said like, look, we're all huge Rammstein fans, and the song Ich Will has this moment in there where a lady sings very high, and that sounds like the theremin, which is like an instrument that was used in the 50s for like an original Star Trek.
Yep.
This kind of sound people associate very much with aliens. And the lady in the Rammstein song also it sounds like that. And then we looked further into it and thought like, this is just a great song. Rammstein is an awesome band. We wanted to just also reach people that might have never heard about it. And we had very positive feedback for the trailer. It was great to see people who were just like, whoa, why is this alien singing Rammstein? And
put Rammstein in the game, please. I saw demands for that. Like half the comments on the trailer, people are stoked on it. I'm like,
yeah. A lot of people ask like, is he the German voice of
Yes, Till Lindemann is the voice of crypto now. That's where we're going with that.
Martin, thank you so much. This game looks awesome. We're very excited to play it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Destroy All Humans. It's the game you remember, but even better. That's how you should play it these days. Plenty of games here at IGN covering Gamescom now all week long, so don't go anywhere.